Hey guys, Terrence here again with Neptune Systems, bringing you another Let's Talk Reef. Wow guys, it's been 2 weeks, we're on schedule, and I'm hopefully going to bring you some great stuff today. Not a super ton of Apex gear kinds of stuff, just some more reef keeping knowledge, reef keeping stuff that I've found out over the years myself, and in this case, and one of the things I'm going to talk about today, specifically over the last couple of weeks, a really cool thing that I've done on my tank and wanted to bring the information to you. First of all, again, want to thank you guys. You should subscribe to the channel. For all of you guys who watch it on the replay, if you ever want to watch it live and don't want to miss it, make sure you click the bell on YouTube. Make sure that you have it come up first in Facebook. Thanks for all of you joining me. I see we do have both Facebook and YouTubers here, although I've only got one Facebook comment here, so you guys bring in the comments. I do have a bunch of YouTube comments. We've even got Paul over here who's playing to make sure everybody's on there. This is the beauty of doing a live stream. Anyway, guys, we are here today. I'm going to talk about a few things. First of all, the news with Neptune. We are doing shows. We do a ton of events. Let me get my cursor back here. Take a look at this schedule that we did this year. We are almost through the end of the year, but we've got a couple of more pretty big events that we're doing. The first one is that's coming up is the Aquatic Experience that's out there in New Jersey. We'll have a small little booth there at the Aquatic Experience combined with one of our dealers. And it's generally been a pretty good show. So if you're in the New Jersey, New York area, come out and see us. If you have questions about Apex gear or you want to pick up some Apex gear too, come on down to that show. The next up that I'll be at, and the next biggest show, the last big show for us of the entire year, is Reefapalooza in Chicago, Illinois. Schaumburg, Illinois to be exact. And the dates on that are October 19th through the 20th. We'll be there. We'll have our big Neptune Systems booth, as we always do. We'll be showing off all the products, and we'd love to have you guys come down, talk about your aquariums, talk about your Apexes, or if you don't have an Apex, ask all the questions you need in order to make that decision. We got Noel here on the live stream. We've got Trent again. We've got Ray Franke. We got all sorts of people on the live stream. So let's talk some more stuff. Control Freak Wednesdays. So something that I started last week as a new thing, just kind of threw it out there to see whether or not people would be interested in this, and the response was pretty overwhelming. So I did one that exact same day. We went and did a Skype with Reef Co. Out in New Jersey and had him show us around his store and how he's utilizing all of his Apex gear. And that was pretty fun and pretty cool to see how he does things. So I think we're going to keep it around, and in order to kind of fit it in all of our schedules, we're going to have it on opposite weeks from Let's Talk Reef, which will be on Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays. We'll have one next week. We're going to make it at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. And next week, we've got one of our control freaks, and he's a serious control freak. It's Derek Picker, who's going to be showing off his reef. Check out this house. I mean, he's got a beautiful home with a beautiful aquarium in it, and it is an amazing setup. I'm not going to give too many of the secrets away and too many spoilers, but there you can see his mixing station. We'll do that next week. We'll go over what he's doing there. And of course, there's his control board, complete with the tablet and the Trident down there in the corner. So prepare your questions for Derek so we can go through his whole setup and you guys can learn from what he's done and see some cool stuff. So that'll be next Wednesday, as I said, next Wednesday at 3:30 in the afternoon, and then every other Wednesday after that. If you want to be part of the Control Freak Wednesdays, anybody is possible to be on it. Just send me an email to terrence@neptunesystems.com, and I will, I'll take a look at what you got. Send me a couple pictures. Tell me what's cool or unique about your system, and we'll put you on. Share your scenario with everybody else. Okay. Another piece of news: Android 10. So the Android guys released a brand new version. And that was kind of thrown upon us a little bit. We weren't exactly expecting what it did, and it broke our app. But that's okay, because we have an amazing engineering team, and they flipped it around and now have a brand new app out there for you guys to download and utilize for Android. Not any feature enhancements per se, but you definitely have at least the well, maybe dark mode I think is in there. So that's also something that comes from Android, but it's working on 10. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, go ahead and download that. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a few reef keeping things today. The first one is one that is it's really got me for, I mean, the time I've been in the reef keeping now is about 11 years in modern times. My first tank was back in 1985. We didn't know anything about Bryopsis. We just wanted to keep fish. But after I got the first reef tank in 2008, by 2009, I had this green stuff growing in my tank, and it was horrible. It's this feathery stuff. I'm sure almost all of you out there are familiar with this particular algae, this nuisance algae. It is horrible stuff. If you try to pick it out of your tank, it just roots itself into the rocks. You can't ever get it all out. You can try to spot clean it with hydrogen peroxide like I've done, all kinds of different things. But once it gets a hold in your tank, it just starts to spread, and it's the worst ever because it will actually come up around the corals and kill the corals. So I started getting Bryopsis in my tank, my newest tank, my 425, probably I'd say within 6 or 7 months of having it. I got a Frag from a particular online dealer, not to be named. It had a little tiny bit of Bryopsis on it, little did I know. And that's where the Bryopsis started in my tank. And I pretty much kept it under control for a couple of years. Then I came back from vacation. By the way, this is my tank, so you can see this is the whole tank. And the part I'm going to show you up close here in a few minutes is over near that powder blue tang, just directly above where the powder blue tang is in this image. So I came home and I had that tufty. Let's get rid of that. Sorry, let's get rid of that. I had that tufty green algae that you'll see up there right above that torch coral. And you'll see right below the torch coral and just above the Let's Talk Reef logo, I had that stuff in my tank, and it was starting to just get out of control. And I don't like putting my hands in the tank for as little as possible. Not because I don't like touching the water, but bad things happen when you have your hands in the aquarium. So I had torn it out. I had tried hydrogen peroxide. I tried all kinds of things in the tank. And I started reading around. I started talking to different people that I really, really trusted, and they told me about flucosanol, which many of you guys probably on here already. Let's see, nobody brought up flucosanol yet, but I thought somebody probably said, "Hey, why don't you just use flucosanol?" So the flucosanol thing I know has been out there, but I am not one of these people to just start dumping things into the aquarium as fixes or enhancements to the tank. I like to keep things kind of pure and natural as it can be. But I kept hearing about flucosanol, and I kept asking from these people. I mean, well, I think one of the people I even asked was Sanjay. Oh yeah, we've got that on here now too. So Paul, we can do that. So there's a name drop, and we go back, and then we probably mess it up. Anyway, so just want to try the name drop dinger on there for you guys, because when Paul and I are going to be going, often I'm going to be hitting that button. But anyway, Sanjay even said that don't worry about it. I've run it a number of times. It's not a problem. There's no side effects. I still don't believe it, because I don't believe that something like that can be, is not going to be too good to be true. But the Bryopsis was bad. I went to MACNA. And Eric from Blue Life was there, Blue Life USA, Eric Cohen. And I asked him about it. Yeah, I'm getting through the fourth wall there. I'm getting the hit the name drop, right? I forgot to hit it again. I should have. Okay, there we go. Get it. Just for fun. There we go. All right. And I asked him, do you have some of this? And he says, yeah, I do. I've got it in this thing called, Blue Life Flux RX. And I know there's a number of different of these. So I'm plugging now flucosanol, not necessarily Blue Life, but that is the one that he gave me and said, hey, why don't you try it out? I said, well, isn't it going to cause me bad things on my reef? Again, because I don't trust any of this stuff. So this picture here was it's just actually a few weeks ago, believe it or not. This is the 7th of September. That's how bad it was. And then I dosed the flucosanol. I followed the instructions on the package, which I think it says put 1 scoop of this in, or this entire thing here is for 350 gallons. It comes in here. It's a powder. So I know some of these, they have little tablets, I think, that you break apart, and a certain number of tablets. This is actually a powder, and it comes with a little spoon in here somewhere. And you're supposed to get a level spoon of this and do a certain number of spoons. Well, I dumped the whole one of these in because that's 350 gallons. And then I scooped out what looks like to be what I needed out of this one to get to the rest. And mixed it up in some water and then dumped it in and pretty much said my Hail Marys and hoped. And then I turned off my skimmer. So I had to take the cup off my skimmer and turn off the carbon they recommend. And here's kind of how it progressed. So here you can see it now getting a little bit different color, and it's getting you can see kind of like some grayish on the fronds, so something's happening to it. This is 2 days after I put it in. So it's already having an effect on it. Now you can see this is 12 days into it, and you can see the stuff up top is already really receded. The stuff down below is still there, but it's really starting to crunch up now. Same spot. Now we're on day 13 from 7, so day 6 of putting it in there. You can see it's going away even more. Now we're on day 9. You can hardly even see the stuff. And I had some other snails and stuff. You can see one of them in there down on the bottom there. You can see him kind of munching on it. I think they're getting what's left over. And the last one here was taken on the 21st, just before the weekend. And it's pretty much cleared up. And this stuff is weird. It's an antifungal, and strangely enough, when I looked it up, its real use is for yeast infections. So I guess we just call Bryopsis a yeast infection in our tank because it eliminated that. But this is a product. One of the things I wanted to do with Let's Talk Reef is to bring products and solutions and things to all of you guys that have been tried out or that I've tried out and share with you, and see if there's any questions. So let's see if anybody else. Of course, Ken's on here. He says, anybody going to Aquashella? That's another event coming up this weekend. We will not be at Aquashella, but it is a cool event that's happening also in Chicago. And let's see here. Somebody else looking.
Terrence, did you have to change any programming in your Apex?
Oh, there's a good question. Did I have to change any programming in my Apex? The only thing that I did was I did turn down the flow rate to my, that I changed the flow rate in my skimmer because it was just boiling over too much. Another thing too that I did, I had to move my macroalgae out of the sump. Some say you don't have to, but I was kind of like, oh, what am I going to do? So I moved it into a Rubbermaid tub and put an air pump and a little maxi jet in there to keep that going, and moved one of my lights, because I have two that go over my macro, onto that. Then as far as other Apex things, I had to turn off, not really programming, I had to turn off, but it was nice because it was on my phone. I turned off my carbon and that's actually with a PMUP. So if we're doing product plugs, yeah, that's the one I turned off there. But it is really easy to use, and the results were amazing to me. I don't know that I've used another product that had as dramatic results without any kind of side effect. In addition to that, I had some green hair algae even, that it's already brought down the green hair algae a lot as well, and it's not really, I mean, it says on the box for that, but when I've read for flucosanol, pretty much if you want to keep the green hair algae down, you have to keep dosing it kind of over and over to keep it abated. But the Bryopsis is gone, and that's pretty much all that matters. So Noel asks me, did you only put in one dose of the flucosanol? Yeah, so far all I did was one dose. I did it exactly like the manufacturer's directions. I know some people have said that they've had to do it more than once or that it comes back. We'll see, and I'll fill you guys in if something bad happens in my tank. I'll let you know. I'm not afraid to let you guys know. It might be hard to narrow down to that, but everything's good so far. How long does it stay in the system? Sean asked me that. I've heard that after a couple, 3 weeks, you put your carbon back on, and between the carbon and your skimming and whatnot, it pulls it all out of the system. Obviously, some of it's going to go away out of your system too when you're doing water changes. But for me, if it's not hurting anything in my tank, I don't really care if it's going to be coming out of my system or not. Another question. Are we ever making a 3/4 inch flow meter? This question comes up quite a bit. The chances of a 3/4 inch flow meter are pretty low to none. We have a 1 inch flow meter, and you can put a 3/4 inch bushing in there to go to from the 1 inch unions that come with it to a 3/4 inch pipe. Okay. So John Gordon says, couldn't the hair algae be a downside if you have tangs that are eating tiny bits off the rock? Well, that might be a downside, but also fluconazole is an antifungal that's used for treating fish as well. But one thing's for sure, my tangs will not have a yeast infection. So, next up, on that note. Okay. Yeah. Moorish idols. Okay. So, this to me is something I wanted to talk about because often there are so many fish that are in the trade that you can go buy that are so beautiful and so irresistible that they end up in homes where they shouldn't belong. And the Moorish idol is one of those. It's featured in Finding Nemo. It's a beautiful fish, out diving and whatnot. I've followed around pairs of Moorish idols many, many different times, and they're just such graceful, beautiful animals. And I've always wanted to have one in my tank. But they have very difficult eating habits, and they're slow eaters, and they get out-eaten by other animals in the tank. And it's just not a good idea for probably 95 or 99% of the hobbyists out there to ever have one of these fish. But what if you want a replacement for that? What if you want something that looks kind of like that? Well, the answer to that is Heniochus butterfly. And I have Paul off camera here who's looking at me like, why did you put that thing in your tank? He hates these things. But they are what I would say is the wise man. Some people call them the poor man's, the Moorish idol, but I call them the wise man's Moorish idol. And I picked up 3 of these things, but before I did, I read this article from Matt Wandell on butterfly fish that you should have in the reef or shouldn't have in the reef. And it was informative. I read some other articles as well. And in fact, there are 2 different kinds of these fish. So I kind of wanted to bring this to you guys because when you get fish, you want to make sure that they're compatible with the reef. And one of the funny things is that when you go read I actually had a laugh with Kevin Cohen. I had a laugh with Kevin Cohen about this, where his site says reef safe with caution. And this is like, what in the world does that mean? And that's the way these Heniochus fish are, but there's actually 2 different types. So there's the Heniochus diphrates, probably saying that wrong. This is supposed to be the safe one, okay? And after I show you these 2, we'll go back to a little video of my tank with the ones that I have in there, and then you guys can comment on which you think I have, okay? Because it didn't turn out that great for me. That's one. Here is the let's see, this is why I use these funky names, and I don't use the scientific names. Sorry, guys. Acuminatus. There we go. I got it out. Okay, so this is the other one that is really bad for reefs. It loves eating all of the large polyp stony corals in your tank. It just goes around and will nip everything and eat everything. But the other one is not supposed to be that way. This guy is supposed to be nice in a reef tank, supposedly, with caution. So I picked up 3 of these, and I put them in my tank, and almost immediately they decided to kind of do the Bellagio buffet on every single one of my acans, my beautiful fungia, my beautiful scoli, my beautiful, just every part of my tank on the right-hand side of my tank, everything to the right of my tank, where you see the big SPS on the left, on the right-hand side, all of that was supposed to be LPS in my original plan for my tank, and they destroyed that plan. But I love the fish, so I kept them in the tank, and I decided to make the right-hand side of the tank just for SPS. Yes, and somebody said exactly what I was thinking. Patrick Agia said Hakuna Matata. That's what we'll call that Heniochus from now on. We will call it the Hakuna Matata, except it's not. Everything is really good and happy with that fish. But anyway, so that I put those guys in my tank, and now they swim around in the tank like this. And so you can see, there's the big guy. By the way, when I put them in, they were, no joke, they were probably 2.5 by 2 inches, beautiful little guys. Now they're probably about, from tip to tail, top to bottom, they're probably about 7 or 8 inches, and front to back they're about 6 or 7 inches. They're giants, they're pigs, and I love them. So anyway, those are the Heniochus, and if you guys want a wise man's butterfly in your tank, those are the ones to get, except be careful of those LPS. Okay, well, do we have any more questions? Hugs from Brazil. Well, thanks for joining us from Brazil on YouTube. And somebody says, wouldn't that affect the flow? They're asking about the sensors again. Actually, sizing up helps the flow. It doesn't hurt the flow. Okay. What's next on the plan here? And it's probably not going to be a long Let's Talk Reef today, but I got another little thing to go over. So if you looked at this in my tank, I just cleaned up my tank the other day and over the weekend, and I put back in place, if you look, let's see if I can make it. No, I can't get it right. Where is it? It is right. No, it's that way. No, it's that way. Anyway, right there on the left-hand side, you'll see a frag rack. And what I want to talk about right now is frag racks. And a lot of people think of frag racks, they think of running a frag farm, having a place in their basement, in their sump, somewhere where they're putting and growing just tons of frags. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about here putting together, having a place in your display somewhere, maybe it's a little bit off to the side, where you have a small little frag rack. And with that frag rack, you can do lots of different things. I don't know about you, but my fish and my own hands, I end up breaking off corals all the time. I don't want them just to die in the bottom of the tank. I want to either trade them or sell them or give them to a friend. And so having that little frag rack ready all the time right there means I can just reach over and drop those little frags right onto the frag rack, even before I glue them up. So that's one reason to have one. Another one is if you get new corals in. Sometimes you get a new coral, you're at a show or something, and you just don't have time to find the right spot to glue it. I know many of you out there probably have been in the situation where you get a new coral, you don't know exactly where you want to put it yet, but you got to put it in the tank. You don't want it to fall on the bottom and get covered up by the diamond goby or something, so you glue it somewhere, and then you kind of leave it go, and then a month later you're like, that is not the place I should have put that, because you didn't put enough time thinking into how it fits into your aquascape. But if you have a frag rack, you can take that coral, set it up there, and when you feel like it, put it kind of where you want. I also like to put the frags up there too sometimes after I get them to get established, to find where the light is that they like, to let them grow out onto a piece of rubble so I can actually plant the rubble into the tank. And that makes it easier for me to move the coral should I need to move it in the tank rather than just planting it directly on the rock. So these frag racks, obviously many of you have seen these. This happens to be the one I use right now. That's the sunlight hitting it. It's I can't remember the manufacturer. It's probably on there. I can't read it from here, but they sell it at Bulk Reef Supply. You can get it for I believe something like about $30, $40. But there's a bunch of different styles. Let's see, I'll get this one. I want to make sure I turn off these pictures so I don't mess you guys up. Oh, there it is. So it's about $40, and it's super strong. I have 3/4 inch glass on my tank, and it works, and it holds it, and it holds it really well. One of the things to be careful of with these, though, is, have them out of reach of a kid, because they'll pull that magnet off, and all your frags will go falling, or they'll slide it up and down and scratch your glass. So you got to be kind of careful with that. The ones I would say don't get unless you want the corals to be permanently on it are these that look like they're natural, natural rocks and whatnot. Because what's going to happen is that you're going to put frags on there, you're going to kind of forget about some of them, and they're going to start to grow out onto that natural scape, and now you've got that coral growing on there. And even if you break it off and pull it out and put it, give it to a friend or what have you, pieces of that coral will be left behind and they'll start growing on that natural scape. And then it'll start interfering with other corals. So they look really cool in your tank, but they also don't hold a lot of frags, and they trap detritus and they grow algae and all sorts of things that I don't like. So these are not my favorite things to use. I've seen a couple of really innovative small ones. So if you don't have a big tank or you don't want to have kind of an eyesore and you want to have one available, there are some really innovative little small racks that are available too, that have slots instead of the holes. And then there's the do-it-yourself. So this is also something that you can do that, I've done it myself. I used to have another one of these in the back of my tank. Is you use a piece of egg crate. So you take a piece of egg crate, you can cut it up with scissors, make whatever size fits for your tank, and then look for an old mag float. So you get one of these old mag floats. A lot of times these mag floats, look at this, I didn't adjust the size for this one. You get one of these mag floats, and they wear out, or you graduate it up to a better float. You get one of those and glue it on with some epoxy, and you're pretty much good to go. You can even find these at frag swaps, club meetings, people selling like all their old gear, and there'll be some nasty, gross, mag float. Those are the ones to get because you can do a really inexpensive frag rack that way. Let's see here. Do we have a couple of shout outs for some products? We've got, Zen Reef frag racks for the win. That's what Chris says. So a little plug for them. I haven't used theirs, but hey, you guys are reefaholics like all of us too. So somebody asked me, how is the calcium reactor in your Trident working out? I almost had that come into the tech corner today. I want to work on a couple of things with it, but I don't have a calc reactor, so thanks for asking. But with the calcium reactor, I adjust the pH up and down based on the Tridents. So I have really 3 different modes that the pH runs in. It either runs at 6.6, it runs at 6.85, or it's just completely off until it gets a reading of alkalinity that's below that top range that I want to keep it in. And that pretty much has kept my, I think I'm running 4, maybe 6 tests a day, and it keeps me probably within plus or minus 0.2 on the alkalinity, which is fine. Tank's running great like that. Mark Krause has a feedback on the frag racks with the glass ones or the flat ones like that, is that the bigger fish bump the frags out of the bottom. That is a good point. And there are frag racks out there, some of the more advanced ones that have little rubber keepers in them that provide tension for the frag plugs. Let's see, another question. Okay, we'll have Paul do this one. Robert Cray asks, any chance you could add a quick setup infusion? Well, we'll show you how to do it for a fan, kind of like the chiller one. Oh, okay, he's saying, I know the chiller one works. Well, chiller one works. You just want us to change the word to fan for you, buddy? But I think Paul's going to go through that anyway, because that's a good question, because I've had that one come up a couple of times. How do I set up an automatic on-off for a fan? I have a big box fan on the end of my sump, and certainly a good question. Let's see if we have any more questions before we pull Paul in here. Time to replace reagent A. Clear Fabrications out of Seattle is another one that's calling, that somebody has called out. Reef racks, they're natural looking if you leave the frags there. Again, those are the natural ones. If you do leave the frags there, they're fine in my opinion, but if you're pulling them in and out, forget it. And Eric, the guy who designed our cool launch video for the Trident, is on the stream now. So welcome, Eric. Thanks for joining us. And somebody else said there's 3D printing, custom 3D printing. So anyway, those are some of the things that I wanted to go over with you. It's not always going to be Apex in the Let's Talk Reef. Let's transition over though. Paul's got some things that he wants to share with us regarding Trident, and we'll have him go through also that fan setup. Put him on the spot, so he'll have to do it on his own. So we're going to cut over that and get. All right, Paul. How's it going, man?
Hey, Terrence, how are you?
Doing great. What'd you think of those things I talked about?
Oh, pretty good. I mean, the Heniochus, there's so much I told you so that I can't even handle
No,
it.
you said you hated them.
Yeah.
You didn't say I told you. You didn't say, oh, don't get it, they're going to eat everything.
Oh, well, that's why I hated them.
Okay.
Right. Well, you know my whole philosophy on fish anyways,
Yeah, they need to be this big.
They need to be this big. They can't ever get sick. I lucked out with that hippo tang. Thank you, Kurt. That little Kurt fish that I stole from his little aquarium couple years ago, and he's just trooping. That's the only delicate fish I have in there is the hippo.
Well, I have the Heniochus, and then I also have the marginalis.
Yeah, those
And,
marginalis though are awesome.
I love the marginalis. The only
Yeah.
thing I don't like about the marginalis, and again, nobody told me. Sanjay didn't tell me. Oh, wait a sec. Got to keep that on. Sanjay didn't tell me about this with the marginalis. Is that guy likes to tip over the snails and eat the snails.
Pick at their antennas and all that.
Pick
kind
at
of
whatever,
stuff. Yeah.
And so my cleanup crew is just constantly being harassed in the tank. But that's another fish I would never give up. He is the most awesome fish in the world.
And yeah, good to see that the algae treatment worked out for you.
Fluconazole works, man.
I showed up at your house one night, and you didn't even want to open the door because you wouldn't let me see your tank, right? And so
it was
now, yeah. I mean, it's
shout out again to Blue Life USA and Eric. Thank you so much for the Flex RX. It does work, and it was easy to use. So.
Yeah. I think another thing that you missed on the fluconazole thing that you shared with me, though, was just how far your pH dropped once you turned off your skimmer.
That's
right?
a very good point. I forgot to mention that.
And you put it on again, and then just let it overflow into your,
This is a really good point. It's a really good point for people with, with their alerts and setting their alerts and having alerts, and why to have an Apex in the first place.
Yeah.
Is I would have never have thought, because at first I did. I shut off the skimmer, and then the next morning I was looking at like 7.93 on and I never go below 8.08 or something. And I was like, what is going on in my tank? It was like, like this. So yeah, having alerts, and because you never know. I mean, if my skimmer had died, not intentionally shut off, I'm on vacation or whatever. Yeah, I would have been freaking out.
Yeah. You didn't pour a bunch of pH up in.
No. That was my 2008 rookie move.
Yeah, exactly.
We all had the rookie move.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that went well for you. And the Apex allowed you to have insight into your reef, and then you were able to make a change as a result about that right away.
Yep.
So
what are we going to see today, Paul?
What are we going to talk about? So one thing we are going to talk about this week, and we are seeing some questions show up because people are getting reagents. People are getting reagents from their dealers. People are getting reagents from Neptune Systems. And now they're getting this little piece of paper that we haven't really talked about at all. And it tells you that, hey, there's a new reagent replacement procedure.
Okay.
Right? So what I want to talk about is that procedure, why you guys have to do it, and just a little bit of a run through, of some of the questions we've seen come up from support and things like that.
Now, from the top, this replacement procedure is only if you do all three, though, right?
Yes. So this is only if you're replacing A, B, and C. Yeah. And so the first question is, well, how come we suddenly have to do this procedure? I got my Trident back in. I was so lucky enough to get my Trident back in May. I've been getting reagents, and this is the first that I have seen something like that. Well, the reason why is, as we have been, building Tridents, there's more and more reagent usage, and we have more and more reagent. We're manufacturing more reagent batches, right? And the consistency between batches is pretty uniform, right? But there are differences from one batch to the next. Okay. We have found that occasionally, right?
Because we get these in gigantic barrels, like many gigantic barrels, and then we get another lot of them in another group of gigantic barrels.
It's a lot of liquid, right?
And so I think the point is that we thought they were going to be a lot closer together. We have a lot of standards to make things as close as they can. We thought they'd be closer together, but they end up being far enough apart that we need to do this new procedure.
Yeah, and we don't know what reagent you were on before, what reagent batch you were on beforehand, and what reagent batch you're switching to, right? So this modified reagent procedure is something we need to do in the interim of something really cool we're working on.
Okay.
To make sure that your Trident is, number one, is showing the precision that it should on that reagent. Okay, and then once that precision has been demonstrated, getting it calibrated, so your numbers start to line back up with what you've seen in the past.
So what you're saying is that somewhere over there in engineering, they're working on some cool way of getting this done, so that we're always improving all the products, right? We always are. And so this is another thing where we're going to try to take out some of the process that you have to do and have the Apex do it for you. It's just not here yet.
It's just not here yet. We're working on it. And so, we put a lot of thought into everything in the Trident, right? We weren't necessarily expecting the difference between batches that we're seeing, and it's not even a lot, guys. It's just a very small amount. But this modified reagent procedure helps you to be able to, especially if you're doing Trident-controlled dosing, to make sure that things just continue to go uniform.
Okay.
So we'll run over to the to the screen.
The screen here. Let's see if it works. Oh my gosh, it worked with one button.
Oh, that was great. That was great.
Am I on the right spot?
Yeah. You're good.
Oh, good.
This little Stream Deck thing is so cool.
Yeah, it's got this little thing.
Oh, no, I think you're on this camera now.
Oh, am I on this
Not
one?
on that
That's
camera.
okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
It works.
So, anyways, this is the page, okay? And that page is a really long, URL. But fortunately, our engineering people just have to go to neptunesystems.com/new reagents.
Okay.
That's it. And this is the same piece of paper that you're going to find in your reagent box. Okay, and it starts off with my preface. I like to be very verbose. Some people don't like that. Terrence, name drop. But that's what we go. And then the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go through the reagent replacement task, which I show you how to get to if you don't remember.
Again, this is if you do all three, not
only
if you do
all
one.
three, not if you're just doing A. And the reason being is you already have the A from the reagent batch that you're doing, and the A's are always going to match in every box. That's why you don't have to do that with the A. Anyways, so then after you do the reagent replacement task, you need to run 3 tests, 3 manual combined tests, okay? And, you don't have to do them back to back to back. You don't have to make sure the Trident's constantly running during this time. Run a test, do whatever you're doing. Watch.
They take about 20 minutes, something around
that 20 minutes or so. Watch the football game, do the laundry, whatever it is you're doing, and then be like, oh yeah, I got to run another test. And then you run another test. If one of your scheduled tests happened during that time, great, okay? Don't worry about what the numbers were before the test.
And don't worry that we've put in, oh man, I got to do 3 extra tests. I'm getting 3 less tests for the month. There's plenty of reagent in there to get you over the 120 tests for a month.
Yes, we're overfilling the bottles. We've talked about this over and over again.
I just want to make sure, because somebody's like, oh, you're going to make me do 3. All you want to do is make me use up reagent.
And at 7 cents a test, 21 cents times 3, 60 cents. I know, but we're already overfilling the bottles.
Yes.
Don't worry about what the measurements were before that reagent batch. This is why we're doing this, okay? And all you need to do is just demonstrate that the last 2 tests are in the acceptable level of precision that we report. So that is for alkalinity, plus or minus 0.05.
Okay.
For calcium, magnesium.
I can go on the website over here
15.
if you need to get a reminder.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So calcium, and so that's basically it.
Okay.
So how do you determine that precision? It's really easy, and that's also what my modified reagent procedure has you go through.
So you're going to run these 3 tests, and now you got to go look at numbers.
Yes. And so to do that, you're just going to go to your dashboard, select I need to calibrate my calcium. You need to select I just did this, guys, and then go there. And then you want to change your resolution to 1 day. And so the way that you do that is there's this little tiny 1D button. So you hit that. Okay, and then you just make sure that your last 2 tests are within. You
got to look for those itty bitty tiny little dots on the graph.
Right, and then you're going to have 3 of those dots right in a row. Check the last 2. Make sure they're within plus or minus 0.05, plus or minus 15 calcium, magnesium. If they are not, run a 4th test. I know. The 4th combined test, we're really asking you guys to do a lot here. If it's still outside of range, you can make a judgment call. You can say, oh, you know what, that's close enough, and go ahead and calibrate. Or if you want, some professional insight, from our support team, we're happy to do that. And you can do that right from the modified reagent replacement page by just clicking on this little icon down here in the bottom right-hand corner. It's our little chat icon. Click on it, and you can say what you need help with and provide your access to your Apex so our support team can see it, or let us know what the levels were, and we'll give you the go-ahead or give you some more direction if we need more questions.
Good question here.
So.
No, I can't do it that well. Oh, I guess I could have double-clicked. That would probably have been smart. So a question, John Del Monte says, so getting a 6-month supply is a good way to not have the possibility of larger fluctuation when changing the reagents. Is that because, he's speculating, I guess, that they'll all be from the same batch, right?
Yes. So we don't guarantee that the entire 6-month reagent kit is all going to be from the same batch.
Okay.
It's likely they will be. because of the way they are packaged and all of those different things.
But there is a batch number on the bottles, right?
Yes, there's a batch number on all the bottles. The batch number is actually on the label. They used to be underneath the bottles, but now they're actually on the label, the batch number. Okay.
Okay. Is it a sticker on there, or is it printed?
It is on the actual sticker. Right?
Okay.
So on the ABC sticker now, there is a batch number on there as well.
I learned something today, too.
Yeah, they just started, the other day, I was like, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh yeah, we put the batch number on the sticker now, we don't have to do an extra step. I was like, that's genius. Okay, great.
Okay.
So props to our production team. You know? Yeah. So the batch number...
To which everybody's going to be like, when can I get 6 months kits?
Yes. So I'll let Terrence field the 6 month kits. It's a couple people. You know,
yeah, the 6 month kits, we're trying to get them out there as fast as possible to you guys, but it seems to have been a rush for people to hoard up a bunch of, of 6 month kits.
You guys are definitely hoarding. Okay, I will say you all have a problem. You are hoarding reagents. We know you're hoarding reagents
because we know how many tests are being done.
Yes,
so.
yes. So the number of reagents bought to the number of tests that are getting done does not make sense. But you know that's okay. You guys want to, you know, how many people, can you chime in here if you've bought reagents and you don't actually own a Trident? This is a question that we've pondered. So if you can go ahead and announce it.
Yeah.
No one will mention it.
Yeah. Somebody's got like 12 months of reagent, exactly. But they haven't got their Trident yet.
Yeah, exactly. But with that being said, the 6 month kits are going quickly. You know, and the bottles in one box will all be the same. It's likely that all the 6 month kits will be from the same bottles.
Likely,
but not
guaranteed.
So you likely do not have to, you know, do the modified reagent procedure if you're going from one batch of reagents that is the same to the next batch of reagents.
I'm glad he brought that up. I'm glad that John Del Monte brought that up.
Yes.
So we have other questions here. We're still looking at the the rising calcium issue. We look at it as if there's a couple of different things causing it. The bottles is the number one thing.
Yes.
That was causing it. But I know that no matter what, engineering team is looking into this and continuing to try to understand if there is anything else happening on it. And as soon as we know anything, you guys will be the first to know.
And the direction from us has not changed, right? Change out your reagents. If you know you're not happy with that, contact our support team. We're happy to help you out. You know, and that should, you know, we're seeing it as early as 20%, but usually for most people it's about 10% of the bottle left.
So I got another one from Jeremy.
And it's not everyone either.
Okay.
So
another question. We're going to field a lot of questions
today.
Great.
I like that.
We got time. Jeremy Young. Where can I find more information about wiring other sensors and larger flow meters that you guys don't carry to the breakout box that you mentioned before?
Breakout.
So he's not talking about the breakout box. What he's talking about is the advanced sensors module that is available. That it's kind of this is like Uber control freak stuff.
Yeah.
This is a product that is generally not available through normal sales channels. It's sold through our vertical integrators, meaning places like Tenji or Aquarium Design, different companies who are installing massive aquarium setups.
And so you know, if you are looking to integrate a third-party sensor in, you know, we do have, you know, please contact us, but you do have to answer quite a few questions. You have to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because it's taking a millivolt or 0 to 5 volt signal and then converting it to data that you can see on your Apex. And a lot of those devices work in super strange ways and non-standard ways, and it's really not for the amateur. But if you are, you know, if you're one of those Uber control freaks, you can certainly send in a message to support, tell them you're interested in the advanced sensors module, and
and we'll ask you a couple questions. But one caveat on it is you're on your own.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not assisting you in the setup of it or anything.
This is a real kind of do-it-yourself with the module. We make it available to certain people, and it's used right now in the PAR monitoring kit mostly. Mm-hmm. But we do have people using it for level sensors in commercial environments, using it for what are they? The sonar type sensors and whatnot. Just set up.
Could be out
Javier Cortez.
Javier, wait for the test to finish. If number one, okay, so if it's orange and you're still not seeing the results, what are actually your numbers?
Are you sure that's a Trident thing? I don't know that's a Trident thing.
I think
I don't know. It's Javier.
Well, Paul's video on the task, and then he says it's about his Trident.
Oh, okay.
So and also, you know, what is your alkalinity, calcium, magnesium actually, right? So the Trident has a range of, I think, about, I don't want to be quoted on this right now. It's within normal reef parameters, and if you were outside normal reef parameters,
it's even outside what I would call normal ones. Yeah. It's outside enough to deal with people's abnormal reefs.
So just run another combined test. If you still don't get results, contact support. Use the little chat button. Reach out to us. We'll make it right.
Okay, what's next? There's another one on here. What's the difference between SWX3_2 and SW2?
Pisces. The difference between those switch names are the I/O input or the digital input of the module they're connected to. So SW2 is the input on your base unit. It's on the prime unit, right? SWX3, that's a switch or digital input on a module, for example, like an FMM, a PM1.
Not an FMM.
It could
be an FM1, because it's a...
It could be an FMM. So it could be a digital or an analog input.
Yeah.
There was a question, too, about tasks that you wanted me to answer. Did you answer that, the chiller thing?
Okay. No, somebody had asked if we could basically make another one for fan, and I just said, why don't we, can you just show us how that works?
I just love showing this because all the hard work that our engineering team puts in.
My thing with everybody's reef, whether you think you need it or not, is put a fan on your sump, even if it's a small fan. Because if you have a heat-related issue, even your air conditioning goes out in your house and you're not home, a small fan blowing on your sump will get you probably an hour, 2 hours, even 5 hours without having your tank be harmed. It buys you time. So this is how you set it up if you do get one.
There's this great button here. It's called Tasks. I love Task. And then, best way to do this actually would be just for us to go in here and type in what we want to do. So you want to type in fan, doesn't show up, but essentially what you're setting up is a chiller.
Correct.
Right? If you want to know all things that can control temperature, just put in temp, right? And so now we get the chiller, the heat, or the light. You also asked about power head, right? So you can just type in pump, right? And everything associated with a pump is there to go. Is that power head more working like a return pump? Is it working more like a skimmer? Or I want something to always be on. Type in the word always, right? And so the tasks are there to do 90% of the things that you need to do on your Apex, and they take you through step by step of the questions that need to be answered to set that device up. So think about the device you are trying to set up. Try to make it as generic as you possibly can.
Okay.
So for example, the power head, right? I thought that is a pump. Then I thought of it as, I want that to always be on. I typed in the word always. With the fan, what am I controlling? I'm controlling temperature. So type in temperature, and everything associated to temperature control is going to show up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah. Totally makes sense.
Oh, man. I'm all embarrassed about my calcium number right now. I changed out reagents yesterday, and I know that it's going to continue to run fine, but I haven't recalibrated.
It's
too
fine.
Busy.
It's
too
fine.
Busy.
You didn't run the task, though, Paul.
Yeah,
okay.
I cut corners, Terrence. What can I say?
You can run the task for yourself. Put a fan on your sump. You'll be happy you did at some point. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Just an inexpensive one. Okay. Here's another one. Can we get export of input logs to an Excel file?
That's available today. Go to Chapter 10, Logs, in the Apex Comprehensive Reference Manual. Everything there is talking about an Apex Classic, but guess what? The same links still work on a new Apex. All right. The way XML works in Excel these days is different than it worked, in the 4 or 5 years ago.
Well, before you get to Excel, I think what you should say is that because Pretty much today's users, I think that they are, I think they're more Apex Fusion people.
Yes.
So I don't believe that they really understand, and this is a good point to make, really, in the controller world, is the Apex itself is a standalone unit that sits on your network, that is its own complete web server, and everything is self-contained there so that no matter what happens to your network connection to the outside world, it still is running your tank. It's still logging your parameters. It's still keeping track of everything. It's still turning everything on and off. The internet can go away, and you still have that thing working on your tank.
Yes.
So what that means is that if it is its own web server, It means that you can go through an address on your internal network and get to what is essentially like a folder in your own computer, because it is its own computer too on the network.
Yes.
And in that folder, there are CSV files, aren't they? Or are they XML
no, they're
files?
XML files,
XML? Okay.
right? And you can actually put that XML link into Excel and read the XML file, and then you have to do some other Excel manipulations to make the data workable.
Yeah.
But yes, you can export the data and you can pull the data.
If you're really smart, you could write your own little database app or whatever that
And
just
there are
goes and
people that do
pulls,
that, for
pulls
sure.
the data and puts it in whatever form you want.
That's how the old Reeftronics used to work, right?
Yeah.
He used to pull that data and host all that and
Yep.
everything, you know. Name drop, Russ Michael.
Oh yeah, we got the name drop. Where is it?
Anyways, so with all that being said, you know, Terrence brings up a really good point. You know, something that I take for granted, you know, is just how standalone the Apex actually is, right? You know, you lose internet or anything like that, just hold that reset button for 10 seconds, guys. It goes to blue. You can connect up to the hotspot on your phone, on your computer, whatever, and access it right then and there. You know, internet comes back up, reattach it to your Wi-Fi. I have I think episode 1, we talked about how to do that.
So here's another one, Paul. Frankie Romeo is the first person to notice that, or sorry, is it Frankie? Who was that? No, it was Andy Glade. Andy Glade's the first person to notice that I do have a different shirt on today, okay, than I normally do.
We've talked about this shirt in the past.
This is a special shirt, and I will try to get up and, can they see it now?
Yeah, so, no, put your back straight, my friend. There you go, there you go. So this is a Believe unicorn shirt here from Terrence, you know, demonstrating the back of it. Now you can see the front. It does have a white logo on it,
So
compared to the old orange logo.
So as usual, those of you who hung out till the end of this Let's Talk Reef, you'll put your names in the hopper and pick one of you or two of you to get one of these cool shirts. So.
And I will do a shameless plug. I can't help it. Right at shop.neptunesystems.com, there you can get all your Control Freak gear.
Yes,
so
there, you can get.
Besides
the hats.
this white shirt, not available.
Those shirts
everything
are
else, everything else is available.
Yes, not the white shirt, not the gray shirt, not the gray colored one.
No sweatshirts.
And no sweatshirts.
And no sweatshirts. those are off limits. But there's plenty of other cool
we
stuff.
have orange Control Freak, gray Control Freak,
yes,
gray Believe, orange Believe, and hats.
And you can't, so we're like the merch. We're like the YouTube merch now. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you can't get the ones from our events either, from the meetups.
Oh no, the
Those
meetups are
edition.
only available at the we would no, they're not available outside the
That's
meetup.
true.
Yeah.
So
100%
we'll pick
cotton. Yes.
We'll pick a name out of whoever's doing comments in the last 15 minutes and give out a couple of shirts. Now look at all the comments with nothing in them really, because people are just trying to get their names in so that they're in the drawing.
Yeah.
It's like all the people come out of the woodwork that never ask questions, like Mike Connell there. I would wear one, or Jeff Jerry. I missed it all.
Dark theme UI. I don't know. iOS 13's coming. It is available on the new Android 10. So dark theme is there.
We're looking at it in the iOS stuff, so no promises, but we're looking to see what we can do there. And I saw Cyphus was on here too, Brad Cyphus. So that was kind of cool.
Get a Trident, Cyphus.
And Robert Cray. So if there's no other questions other than, hey, I just want a T-shirt, we're going to close this down, Paul.
All right.
One more little thing. I will be at Bulk Reef Supply this week.
Oh, okay.
The BRS 360 is coming alive at Ryan's house.
Okay. You going to do the tech part of this? Or what are you guys talking about? You know?
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it.
Well, I'm not going to say too much, but you definitely want to listen in. There's obviously going to be a video first that he does, and then he does a live stream segment.
Cool.
This will be on Thursday afternoon. I can't remember the exact time. The topic he and I will be talking about is where to place a reef tank and your fish room and stuff in your home.
Oh, the shway.
Yeah, issues around that, the significant other, all of these different things.
You have good insight on that.
And then who knows what else Ryan and I will start talking about once we get there and start talking. But it should be fun, and I invite you guys to come out and watch. I'd love you guys to really bump up the numbers. So come out and
Terrence
support.
comes on and
the numbers go, yeah, absolutely. So pass it around, share it around. All you control freaks come out and watch and give a little bit to Ryan too.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right, guys. I think
that's
about it. I was told in the very beginning by I'll find him up here, okay? This is the guy right here, okay? Mike McNamee, okay? Don't end with enjoy those fish. It's weird and makes me uncomfortable. So, because of that, okay?
What are you going to end with? That's like how you end.
I know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, Mike McNamee, okay, first you, and then anybody else that wants to, give me some great options on how to close out the live streams. Because always, if you're going to say what you don't like about something,
then you have to say what you like.
You have to say something or give another option or another way to do it.
That's the rule. That's the rule around here.
So now you're on the spot. And hey, if I use it, Mike, I might even give you a shirt.
All right.
Okay. So on that note, you guys have a great evening. And 2 weeks from today, we'll have another Let's Talk Reef. Next week, we will be doing the Control Freak Wednesdays. And wow.
Yep. That looks like a cool
And then
setup,
Reefapalooza coming up.
Yeah. Chicago.
Yep. Later, guys.
See you guys.